What's going on, everybody? This is Zach Dresch. You're watching the Dresch Code, home of all things music from a Dresch perspective. We are continuing our discussion on the Strokes. This is the top 10 singles. I am, of course, joined by my friend and comedian, Cody Ullrich. How are you doing today, good sir?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good, not too bad. I think we had a pretty good album discussion, album
Yeah,
rankings.
agreed.
And I'm excited to get into the nitty gritty of things, and we're going to rank the singles. Because the Strokes have so many good songs, I couldn't do a top 10 straight up. I
Yeah.
had to split it up somehow. So we're cheating a little bit and doing a top 10 singles and then a top 10 underrated gems, which you can check out forthcoming here in the next day or two. So, yeah, let's get into the singles. Do you want to do should we do honorable mentions first?
Should we do our what?
Honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. Yeah. Are we gonna do that in our gems, or have honorable mentions that aren't on either list?
I did both honorable mentions for both because I couldn't narrow it down a little bit.
Man, I didn't even think about that. You do your honorable mentions, and if they're
Okay.
not on my list, I'm probably going to agree with it.
That's cool. Juicebox didn't quite make it. Heart in a Cage didn't quite make it. One Way Trigger, At the Door, and Taken for a Fool was up close to making it too.
So those are ones that are also not going to necessarily be on your gems list.
No, not those, because technically they were singles, but they were not. I guess they could be underrated too. So it's kind of subjective.
Yeah. So when I was thinking singles, I was also basically just thinking songs that I like, and a lot of these are actual singles that came out, and I think a handful of them may just be on albums. So forgive me for straying a little bit there if I did that. But
no,
I think most of these were singles. I think there might be one or two on there that weren't necessarily singles off the albums, but still songs that I like a lot.
Oh yeah, me too. I'll kick us off with my number 10. I've got The Adults Are Talking.
Okay, right on. That one also made my list, but my number 10 is New York City Cops.
Ooh.
Yep, which is a track that was originally on Is This It? It was taken off after 9/11, which we were talking about back in our album session. But the first Strokes album, I'm sorry, the version of Is This It that I had when I was growing up was the European version with the Bud on it. And it had New York City Cops on that version of it. So in my canon of Strokes, that song is absolutely on Is This It?
Yeah, I had the U.S. version, so when it started was on mine. So for years, I had no idea New York City Cops existed. For like a couple of years, I should say.
You didn't know New York City Cops existed?
No,
you're a white guy. That's why they leave you alone.
But then I bought the Hard to Explain single a couple of years later online, and New York City Cops was the B-side on it, so I had it on CD. So
I think that's the way you have to stream it now if you're looking for it, because like I'm on Tidal right now, and New York City Cops is not on it. Which single did you say it came with?
Hard to Explain.
Yep.
Let's see if it's on there.
Yeah, it's on there. It is, and the cover's the like glass chair.
Yeah. So that's the only way you're going to get it on streaming services. So
yeah, got to see him play it live just a few months ago, and it was a big old sing along. It's weirdly a song that's probably more fitting of this era than it was when it came out. Not that it wasn't, but again, right after 9/11 happened, it was a little hard to vilify the police in New York.
Yeah. For my for number 10, The Adults Are Talking. It's such a great way to kick off the album, and it was definitely one of the best songs on the album for sure. And I just remember seeing them on SNL, and Julian keeps yelling "fight" all the whole time for some reason, like just fight.
Yeah. I don't know if I watched the SNL performance of that one. God, what a weird time. That song and album came out right at the beginning of COVID.
And the only way they could promote it was to be on TV and film it somewhere
I wish I would have listened to that more. What I really did during the beginning of COVID was sink back into stuff that I already liked. I got a lot of comfort listens. I was listening
Oh,
to
sure.
Built to Spill, probably early Strokes albums. I was definitely listening to quite a bit more. But yeah, so Adults Are Talking is your number 10. The Adults Are Talking is my number 9.
Oh,
So
nice.
I had it ranked just a tiny bit above New York City Cops. I don't even know that I necessarily like the song better.
Yeah.
I think it scratches a different itch. We were talking about on the album side of things. The Adults Are Talking is one of the first songs I think of when I think of Julian's kind of switch to maybe try and falsetto vocals out a little bit more.
Yeah.
There's one or two moments in it where I can hear some pitch correction. It is tasteful.
Yeah.
I even hate to bring it up because if you're not listening for it, you won't hear it. And
Yeah.
there are even old songs that they have that have moments like that too, which blows my mind to hear. But it's a return also in a lot of ways to the Strokes that I love, especially
Yeah.
instrumentally. And that album just starts so well. Such a strong start to that album.
No, yeah. My number 9 is 1251.
Right on.
It's a great
Very good
song.
too.
Like we mentioned in the last video, the synth just drives that song, keeps it adding to everything so hard. It's just so great.
Yeah, it's the ultimate short, fun indie song. There was that era that I was saying in our album discussion. I wish that we would get more of, where you would just have like a real punchy synth
Yeah.
driving as a line in these kind of indie disco tunes. That I haven't heard as much lately. The closest thing I've heard in pop music recently that is nowhere near kind of that indie rock side, but that was trying to get that similar synth punch to it is yeah, I couldn't even say the name of the song. I hear it all the time though. The Weeknd has a big hit right now that's got a synth. It's like that. Din, 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 din,
Oh,
din,
Blinding
din.
Lights.
Yeah. That's maybe
Yeah.
that's a guilty pleasure of mine. It's a little poppier than what I'd probably
Yeah.
normally listen to, but you don't hear it as much just to have that synth line driving through a song.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the lyrics on that song too. Friday nights have been lonely. Take it slow, but don't warn me.
Yeah.
Like that line is that's such a Julian, like smart ass kind of line. And the we could go and get 40s, then we'll go to some party. Oh, really? Your folks are away now? All right, let's go. You convinced me. Like that line.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. It captures. I mean, also we talked about this too. I think the nice thing about the Strokes is, well, I would have been actually pretty much a kid like when their first two albums were coming out,
Yeah, same.
but when I got into them and was listening to the first three albums, which is really the time frame when I collectively started listening to them, uh, those lines they hit. I didn't even think about your folks are out of town, because how old were they when they wrote that? They were well past the point that they were
They
waiting
were
for
early. Yeah, they were
probably
early
early
20s.
twenties.
Yeah,
Yeah, but listening to that in high school for sure, I was like, man, you remember licking your chops thinking about a buddy that had their parents out of town or something like that.
yeah. I didn't pay attention. I never paid attention to the lyrics growing up, and now I finally do. And it's like, oh, 1251 probably makes sense because that's the time at the party when he finally found the courage to be confident or something like that, and just
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Great tune, great tune. That's one of their most fun songs, I think, and they have a
yeah,
lot of fun songs.
for sure.
That's a fun song. All right, my number 8 is "Heart in a Cage."
Ooh,
Um,
yeah,
that's one of my favorite tracks on First Impressions. Um, it's got man, it's very frenetic. It's got that kind of pirate shanty
yeah,
vibe, but what really makes it is Albert's like descending uh,
yeah,
walk back on his lead guitar that splits up all the verses, and it's just an energy that is not present in. Well, I mean, I don't know. They're such a high energy band, but it's a different kind of swinging. It's got a swinginess to it that I like a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I love the drum part. That makes the whole song for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the melody he does in that song is great too. I really like it a lot.
When I think of his voice, that is a moment that I think of a lot of if I wanted to do like an impression of Julian Casablancas, it would be that in the heart beats in its cage.
He's definitely not intentionally channeling Matt from the National on that one, I
Oh
think.
yeah. Oh, what another
Oh,
great band.
yeah.
We should talk about them sometime too. But yeah, that deep music for adults kind of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
For sure. My number 8 is another kind of fun one. I've got Bad Decisions from the latest album, The New Abnormal.
Okay.
It's a really it was the most immediate song that got me into the album. It rips off Melt With You and Dancing With Myself, but I still like it a lot. And even the band's like, you know what? We're giving both bands credit so they don't fuck with us and try and sue us. So
yeah, it's got a little bit of that jingle of like
college rock jangle.
Yeah, or even that I think Tears for Fears had a little bit of that that guitar effect that they use in that, which is that audio aesthetic that I also appreciate quite a bit. I used to hate 80s music. Obviously, we were talking about hair metal the last time we talked, but something was just like so cheesy when I think of like Duran Duran and honestly a lot of like new wave bands. But I'm talking when I was like little. For some reason, just something about it rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. But as I get older, I appreciate those things more. The kind of echo and the Bunnymen sounds, the cars.
Tears for Fears, Roxy Music.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Cure, some of the tones that they'd get and stuff, and in their newest album, they've got a few moments where the guitar can kind of move. The Come Down Machine had some moments like that too, that were reminiscent of. Obviously, Come Down Machine, they were looking at 80s influence, but yeah, I think Bad Decisions that's what I think of with that one. I'd probably put that in there as an honorable mention because that's also not on my gems list.
It's the most Strokes-esque song on the album, I'd say.
Yeah. So my number 7 is Hard to Explain. Which is
why is it hard to explain?
Yeah,
Golf clap to myself.
I'll tell you why, but it would be I guess it is funny because it kind of does speak for itself. I mean, it's the one of the Strokesiest Stroke songs. And I also like where they leave that tune. The way it ends.
It's on my list as well, but it's higher up for me. Well, that was the second Strokes song I'd ever heard. It was on SNL. They played Last Night and Hard to Explain.
Yeah.
And in the break where he goes, "You're right, it's true," and they stop, abrupt stop. You can hear Julian yell, "Fucking A."
I gotta see that. But yeah, I love sometimes when songs just kind of trail off at the end. But yeah, and it's hard to explain. He just kind of I can't remember. Back when I was a music student, there was you might know. It's what do they call it? Word painting or something like that.
Sure.
But the way at the end he just kind of trails off the same way that you would just kind of give up on an argument and just be like, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's always stuck with me. Just such a brilliant way to end that song. It's hard to explain.
Yeah. My number 7 is You Only Live Once off of First Impressions of Earth.
Right.
Love the shit out of this song. Probably my favorite song on that album.
Yeah. I would agree. That's also my favorite song on that album. Just another great start to an album. They really know how to start albums well. I don't think
Whatever
any of their albums
happened.
are weak.
Is This It? Machu Picchu's pretty cool. Tap Out's fantastic. Best song on that album. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
There's I don't know. It doesn't quite ping pong, but when I think about that song, it almost has like kind of a back and forth.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites, which I'll talk about here in a little while. What are we on now? We're on 7, 6?
6 now. Yep.
My 6 we already started talking about a little bit earlier. My number 6 is 1251.
Nice.
We've already said a lot about it. I love the synth. I mean, the synth line makes it, and there's just something about that song that encompassed the whole era of that type of music, with that driving, punchy synth. And you can't just somebody that's listening to this, bring it back. Start an indie dance rock band. Just get somebody on the keys, like with a little micro Korg or something like that. Crank up like kind of a dirty square synth and blast it. I miss it.
Right. Exactly. Oh, yeah. My number 6 is same album. I've got Reptilia.
Reptilia. Very good choice. Very good choice.
Yeah. Not my favorite. I think if Guitar Hero hadn't come out with that song on it, it would be higher up on my list, I think.
Yeah. And that was a sign of the era as well. At some point in my life, and it was one of the healthiest things that I ever discovered, is like, it's okay to like things that are popular.
Yeah.
I used to and I was the same way. As like, if something ended up on Guitar Hero, I was like, nope, they're too mainstream now. Oh no, they're in a commercial because music that they don't actually have control over ended up on it or something, which should make me hate like Last Night and stuff. But Reptilia, on the bright side, I did have Guitar Hero, and it's a very fun song to play.
It is. Yep.
And so it didn't take away too much from it. I was a big fan of Guitar Hero. But yeah, I agree. Once more people like the thing that you think is just specific to your little niche, the less cool it feels. But I do love that song.
Yeah,
and I'll
me
also
too.
be talking about that shortly.
Right on.
All right, number 5, which, honestly, for some reason, I always forget it's not the first track on Angles, because it comes after Machu Picchu. But Under Cover of Darkness is my number 5. That's the best song on the album, in my opinion.
By far, yeah.
And it's just got one of the most fun guitar lines that the Strokes have ever written. Yeah. The way, man, I rewound it so many times when it came out. Just the beginning with the when Albert goes way higher.
Yeah.
And they've kind of got they always do a good job, whoever their engineer is, of balancing the guitar between the sides of the stereo. But the way that jumps out it almost did something physical for me, just hearing the way that guitar jumps out. But then you get that, like, it goes into that kind of swingy.
Yeah, I love that.
Most old-timey kind of riff, and it's that scatty, like, it gets a little jazzy. Love it.
Yeah, the lead stuff's on its own planet, and it's just like, the swing, like, and then the ding, 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 then goes right into the, it's so cool.
And that, it kind of hops almost between, I mean, it sounds cohesive. It's not like a, Mr. Bungle song where it purposely is jumping between several genres, but you can hear just like the basic indie rock side of it, and then you can hear kind of the jazz swing bit that's in a lot of the verses, and then some blues in there too. And it's a well written song.
The bridge is just such a great guitar solo too. It's just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great tune.
Oh yeah, my number 5 is Last Night. Nostalgia purposes also, and it's okay to like popular things. And I like it a lot. Still gets to me. I love it all. I still listen to it all the time. I don't really get tired of it. It's nice to just have on the background, whatever. It's a great song. So I still dig that one.
I don't think I don't think you could reasonably have a Strokes top 10 list without Last Night on it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you did, I would think like, all right, you're trying hard to, not pick the popular song, which I guess I'd also understand. But no, it's a bop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a karaoke tune at this point, which is fine.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier I sing like Someday when I do karaoke, and yeah, I think the only thing that it doesn't have going for it or has going against it is the type of people that like indie rock, like myself, are also dickheads about liking things that get too popular, and that's maybe the only thing that was a detractor for me. But I will also be talking about that song shortly.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. We're on to number 4. I've Reptilia, which we just talked about. So we're kind of flip flopping a little bit here, but yeah, I mean, it's got the almost kind of call and responsey guitar lines that I really loved from that era. It's similar to Take It or Leave It, which was at the end of their first album. Just in the kind of, as you mentioned, staccato way that they're punctuating the guitar lines. But I also like that it was a lot of people's really first introduction to the Strokes. I think a lot of people had heard Last Night on the radio, or at the time it wasn't a commercial, and I don't remember what it was for. But I know people had heard it, but there's no reason that people, unless the DJ said who it was, would have known that it was the Strokes. It just seemed like a song that was on. But Reptilia is when my buddies picking up Guitar Hero were like, hey, these guys are pretty cool. I think maybe I'll check out more of this, indie disco dance rock of the time. And I really hope it opened some doors for a lot of people at the time. Great song.
For sure. Yeah, I love that song too. My number 4 is The End Has No End.
Okay. Wow.
The pre-chorus with the synths, kind of the synthy guitar with the Won't You Take a Walk Outside part. I just love that part of the song so much.
That's not a song I think about very often. I don't even know that I have much to comment on with it. I might have to just go re-listen to it. I'm surprised it's high up on the list.
Yeah, I just love that song a lot. That synth it's another one of those where they add that little synth kind of guitar thing, and it just adds so much to it.
Yeah. The End Has No End. Near the end of the album as well.
Yeah. I really love that song. It's another Room on Fire cut that I just fucking love.
Oh no. Yes. You're right. When the that's another good example of when you just get like a little square synth that comes in and punches in, but with just the little arpeggios. Oh man, what a great time for me. I was just listening to another band that was probably heavily influenced. This is just a weird. Somebody like we had a weird Christian fundamentalist person show up at a bar, and they had a CD with them of a band called The Brave, and you can look up their videos. They're pretty silly. They're doing their thing, but it's like it's Christian hair metal. But when somebody shared the link to it at first, I thought they were linking to The Bravery.
Yeah.
Who's a band that I really like, and they're another band that wouldn't exist without the Strokes, and they really took a lot of that like synthy side of what the Strokes were doing in songs like that and took it a little bit further.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That song does absolutely, that synth that kind of punches over it.
Yeah.
Very good.
I got to see The Bravery once before they broke up. I saw them open for Green Day.
Huh.
Interesting pairing.
That's a big show for them. I mean, if you're a band at that level where they they had their one big song, and they were on the soundtrack of that like MMA Karate Kid movie, Never Back Down.
Sure. Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't know that they had big success, but I think they only put out 2 albums. I like both of them. But they're also very Strokes derivative.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's one of the songs that probably influenced them. Good tune. My number 3, Last Night, which
Yeah.
we already talked about. It was a lot of people's introduction to the Strokes. Maybe a little commercialized. Definitely a karaoke bop, but
Yeah.
good tune. I just, it's one of those songs I'm shocked when anybody says they don't like it. I can
Yeah.
understand if somebody's like, yeah, I've heard it too many times. But if somebody just heard it for the first time and was like, fuck this song, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. I
Wouldn't
would
buy
say
it.
they're lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My number 3 is something we also just talked about. Undercover Darkness is my number 3.
Yeah. What a good tune.
Yeah.
It's got everything.
So good. Yeah. What
All
do you got
right.
for number 2?
My number 2, You Only Live Once.
Uh-huh.
A big reason that one's special to me is first impressions of Earth. It was just it's a special album to me in general. It encapsulated a time in my life. Particularly, I mentioned earlier, I was reading Catcher in the Rye as I was repeatedly listening to First Impressions of Earth. It's like just kind of a study tactic. Really like that book, but I was also going through a particular period of my life where I don't know, it was like I was dealing with a little bit of heartbreak. Little teenage Cody was having some sad days. And I don't think of it as necessarily like a super sad album, but there's like an atmosphere around it, and it opens with "You Only Live Once," and it's just another great start to an album. They haven't, like, track number 1 on any of their album is going to be good.
Yeah.
And that
Without
one's probably my favorite first track on any album.
Yeah, that one's amazing. My number 2 is one we've already talked about. I've got Hard to Explain.
Great tune.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you see, and seeing it on SNL was kind of
that was
driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think our number 1 is the same song.
It's gotta be. I mean, for anybody, it's Someday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's such a good song. There's not a single thing to dislike about it. It's relatable, and I think that even when you think of the Strokes, like I've said before, one of the things that would bring down their cred is that there were these prep school rich kids, but it's still just got this universal, like, sometimes you try real hard and you feel worn down, but you keep going. And that's my karaoke tune when I'm picking like an indie rock song. When I'm feeling like not doing something silly. As comics, I think a lot of times when we go to karaoke nights, we're picking, I don't know, Vanessa Carlton to be silly or something like that. But when I
did Disarm by Smashing Pumpkins last night.
Oh yeah, so that was like a legitimate song that you enjoy versus
yeah.
I killed people like it.
I killed the vibe so hard because like everyone was doing like Fishing in the Dark and that kind of shit, and the song before mine was "What a Man, what a Man, what a mighty good man," and then and then I immediately grabbed the mic and go, "I'm going to kill the vibe."
Oh man, yeah. We have so like we do karaoke. I might go do that tonight. We've got like a comics bar here, and of course, because most of the people that are hanging out there, we'll hear. I got my buddy Patrick Richardson, very funny guy. He's got a band called It's Just Bugs. They broke up, but now he's performing under the name Whirl Away. Anybody listening can check him out. But he'll do Wake Me Up Inside.
Bring Me to Life by Evanescence.
Or Bring Me to Life. Yeah. I didn't even get the name right, but he sings it all falsetto, and it always gets a lot of laughs. But yeah, Someday's great tune. It's very coverable. There's a cover of Someday by Julia Jacklin, which is probably one of my favorite.
I think I've heard that cover.
So good. She changes the time signature up a little bit. It's definitely sonically different, but it maintains the soul of it. And when you can find a song that you can transform into other forms like that and still maintain what it's about, and the emotion that it brings, you can't ask for anything better than that. Great song. Yeah. It is the Stroke song.
Yeah.
It's also nice because it's on when we're talking to dirty hipster kids. It's popular, but it's not Reptilia or Last Night. So
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's top choice. Yeah.
Yep. Great song.
Right on. Well, yeah, this has been top 10 singles. I think we had a pretty similar list with a couple songs being an exception, but yeah, I think that was a pretty fun topic, and we're going to move on to top 10 underrated gems in the next video. So thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell and all that shit. Cody, thanks for being on again.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man.
Oh, yeah. And this is part 2 of 3. So we've got underrated gems. So check that video out when it comes out. So for me, Zach Dresch, thank you for watching the Dresch Code.
Later.